As reactions continue to trade the proposed death penalty for those guilty of hate speech in Nigeria, which has passed the first reading on the floor of the Senate, Minister of State for Transportation Gbemisola Saraki has said that the penalty for hate speech is not particularly new in the country, as part of the Cybercrime Act has addressed it already. Responding to questions from State House Correspondent after the weekly Federal Executive Council meeting at the ASO Presidential Villa Abuja, the minister said Nigerians should not jump the gun, as this is just a proposal and not a law yet.
Like you quite rightly said, it's a bill, so it's not yet law. So the proposer or the sponsor of the bill might have put the death penalty there. Does not necessarily, I think we're jumping the gun a bit because they haven't even, like you said, they're just proposing the bill. It's not yet an act. Be that as it may, already the Cybercrime Act, there is a law in Nigeria already, the Cybercrime Act, that has hate speech aspect in it. The reason, I'm not privileged to know the sponsor of the particular bill that you mentioned, but we do have there is a law in Nigeria, Cybercrime Act. I think I stand to be corrected. I think it was passed in 2014, 2015. I'm not particularly sure, but there is an act, there is a law that takes care of, because cybercrime now is a major issue, and as you know, even or internationally, world over, everybody's concerned about it being the new frontier to fight crime. Yes, so hate speech is within that cybercrime aspect. Perhaps they want to extend it.
On the state of the federal roads in Nigeria, Finance Minister Zainab Ahmed said capital release to the Works and Housing Ministry is a priority for this government.
The Ministry of Works and Housing has a proposed budget of 247 billion for the year 2020. And that the greatest component of this budget is for fixing of Nigerian roads. It is true that we're not able to fund the budget 100%, but whenever we release funds for capital projects, the Ministry of Power, Ministry of Works and Housing is always the priority, and also Ministry of Transport. Our fiscal space is tight, resources are limited because revenues are underperforming, but at any time we have resources, funds to release, the highest proportion goes to power, transport, works, and housing.
The Federal Executive Council meeting, presided over by Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, is the third meeting of the Federal Cabinet since President Muhammadu Buhari proceeded to the United Kingdom for a private visit. From Abuja, I am Festus Ejiroge Nefifen for Ben Television.
The Nigerian Senate has pushed strongly for an amendment of the country's Eastern Law on procurement aimed at increasing the mobilization fees for contractors from 15% to 30%. This was as proposed law entitled Bill for an Act to amend the National Council on Public Procurement and Bureau of Public Procurement Act, scale second reading after rigorous debate on the floor of the upper legislative chamber. The Senate entertained two separate bills to amend different sections of the Eastern Law passed in 2007. The first was from Senator Issa Shuaibu, Taraba North, and other from Uche Ekunife, Anambra Central. The version from Senator Issa Shuaibu was concerned about the need to constitute the National Council on Public Procurement. He also called for an upward review of mobilization fees to contractors from 15% to 30%, with the argument that the current figure was grossly inadequate to mobilize contractors to site.
Section 17 of the Act is also being amended by extending the scope of the Act to other arms of government, such as the National Assembly, the judiciary, by creating relevant tenders boards and their chairmen and secretaries for each. Seventhly, Section 25 of the bill provides for establishment of the procurement planning committees by all procuring entities to ensure openness, transparency, and accountability in the dispensation of public funds.
The version from Senator Uche Ekonife, however, sought an amendment that will ensure that procurement are placed on open competitive bidding, except for those for ecological procurement.
The objective of this bill is to amend the extant provisions of the Public Procurement Act 2007 by providing that the procurement of goods and works from the Ecological Fund Office be conducted through a direct procurement process as provided for in the Act, rather than the open competitive bidding process used in all other cases. The bill also seeks to amend the Act to increase the number of days within which a payment shall be deemed a delayed payment under the Act. Mr. President, this proposed amendment is simple and uncomplicated. It merely recommends very unambiguous amendments to specified provisions of this Act in order to improve the operational efficiency of our procurement process without adversely affecting the underlying purpose and intent of the Act. Mr. President, the sections are as follows. 1. Section 16, subsection 1C of the Act provides, subject to any exemption allowed by this Act, all principles for public procurement shall be conducted by open competitive bidding. The proposed amendment to this particular section is by open competitive bidding, except procurement of goods and works from the Ecological Fund Office, which shall be conducted by direct procurement in accordance with the provisions of this Act.
In their contributions, some lawmakers welcomed the bill, which they said will curb corruption as well as delay experience in procurement processes.
Mr. President, as I'm talking to you and we are leading this debate here, I'm aware that the Procurement Council that is necessarily supposed to fix and lay out the policy guidelines for the enforcement of this Act had not been put in place by successive governments. And therefore, it becomes necessary, especially against the backdrop of our desire now to right the wrongs or apparent lacuna in the past legal instruments that we have in executing government policies, moving, for instance, our budget period to an appropriate time in order that implementation becomes easy and meets the reality on our ground. And so, Mr. President, I think that this act to amend, this bill to amend the Act is very, very important, and we must give it the serious attention that it desires. Mr. President, we must have a time frame for which the President must constitute the Procurement Council.
In passing the bill, other senators, however, expressed few concern, which include need to curb alleged excesses of the use of certificate of no objection by the Bureau of Public Procurement, with lawmakers calling for unbundling of the agency.
The issue of this certificate of no objection, and one of the main reasons why you see the Bureau of Public Enterprise, which I also want to suggest, that enterprise, as presently constituted, must be unbundled. Must be unbundled. And while the bill is under consideration at the committee level, one critical area we must look is the current composition of this particular board. You notice that 3/4 of the agencies of the government goes after this certificate of no objection. And this is in a bid to circumvent the process. That is in a bid to ensure that proper people who are fit enough to do this job have come out of the process.
In his remark, President of the Senate, Ahmed Lawal, welcomed the amendment, pointing out that the last 12 years have exposed the loopholes in the extant law. Lawal said the amendment will also reduce time spent on procurement because of unnecessary cumbersome, lengthy processes of bidding.
The amendment bills. This is because of the importance of these bills. The two bills for the amendment of the Public Procurement Act of 2007. 12 years down the line, we would have seen the strength and weaknesses of the Act. But certainly, the last 12 years have revealed the inadequacies, the loopholes, the lacunas that are in the Act. Like one of our colleagues indicated, we may pass the appropriation bill 2020 before the end of the year, and the implementation commences from January. But if this act remains as it is today, with unnecessarily cumbersome and lengthy processes of bidding, the time we would have gained from passing the budget in time would be lost in processing the projects for implementation.
Both bills were referred to the Committee on Procurement for further legislative work and to report back to Senate in 2 weeks. Barely 24 hours, the Southeast Development Commission was reintroduced. The Senate has also initiated a bill seeking to establish the Southwest Development Commission bill. The bill was introduced by Senator representing Ogun Central, Ibukunle Amusu, at the plenary. Senator Amusu said the bill seeks to address developmental issues in the states which make up Southwest geopolitical zone.
It is for the development of our people, of our area. If a part of a whole is not well, then clearly, of course, the whole will not be in shape, or will not be well. So clearly, every part of Nigeria, of course, should feel concerned, should feel about the need to develop their place. And if all of us develop our place, of course, we have a beautiful country that everybody will be proud of. So to that extent, yes, this is not just my bill. It's going to be all of us from the Southwest. It is being co-sponsored by all of us in the Southwest. If you look at even the demography of Nigeria, if you look at the population of Nigeria, you know, just look at how many are we from Southwest. And if you look at, I'm saying this with all sense of responsibility, there is no part of Nigeria that is not important. All of us are. Everybody have something that they are bringing on the table. But clearly, of course, you will notice that there is no way the Nigerian nation can be, I don't know, described without maybe some kind of what I call prominent mention to those from the Southwest and what we bring to the table, what we contribute to Nigeria as a nation.
Already in existence are Niger Delta Development Commission and Northeast Development Commission, which received presidential assent in October 2017. President of the Senate, Hamad Lawa, has sworn in Abiodun Olujimi as the senator representing Ekiti South Senatorial District. Lawa administered the oath of office on Senator Olujimi during the Thursday plenary. Olujimi replaced the former Senate spokesperson, Senator Adedayo Adeyeye, whose election was nullified by both Ekiti State Election Petition Tribunal and Court of Appeal in Kaduna. Olujimi was on Wednesday issued a certificate of return by the Independent National Electoral Commission following the order of the court.
58-year-old Delta State-born philanthropist Prince Ned Nwoko has been honored in recognition of his commitment to community development in Nigeria. Presenting the award to Mr. Nwoko during a brief ceremony in Abuja, the Director, International Cooperational Africa Advancement Forum, David James Egu, said the award is in recognition of the frantic effort and sacrifices being made by the recipient in the area of human and community development.
My colleagues, so I must say that your lives are rare in Africa. And the truth is that people say in Africa we rarely celebrate our own. You know, it's only when people die you begin to hear all sorts of accolades. So when they are alive, people fail to celebrate them. And I believe that when you use the story of one person who have affected lives, and you project such stories, you are encouraging a lot more millions of people who may want to copy what he or she is doing. So for us today, it's a thing of pride, it's a thing of joy, it's a thing of motivation to see that there's a man who stands out among the crowd. You are using what you have and what God has given you to transform lives.
Receiving the award, Mr. Nwoko, who expressed delight over the award, said he felt inspired to do more in sports and youth development. Mr. Ned Nwoko, who is currently on the process of establishing a sports university in Delta State, said any young man or woman interested in sports and education combined together would find a place at the university when recognized by the National Universities Commission.
But you see, I'm not, whatever I'm doing, I feel that I have a mission in life. I am not doing it because I want to be acknowledged by anybody. In fact, in the course of doing it, I face so many obstacles sometimes. But I've never daunted. I feel that I must persevere. I must achieve what I want to achieve. Like you mentioned about the sports university, there's been so much crisis about getting it done. But I realize that a university of that nature is needed in Nigeria. Yes. If you look at, I mean, there are many universities in Nigeria. Yes. I know that there are over 200 universities. But there's no university in Nigeria that has paid attention to sports and academics together. Where you can have joint honors degree. Yes. So I just felt that there is need to have a university, a sports university that will provide the facilities for our very talented young ones to come in there, get educated, also get trained, and then compete with the best in the world. And let me tell you, once we are done with the university, to give us about maximum 6 to 10 years, you will see end of difference in the hall of medals.
In Abuja, LM Chukwemeka reports.